And feel free to welcome everyone as they join. So,
Welcome, everybody. We'll be starting in just a few moments when people get in. Hope you're having a good day. Maggie, nice to see you. Dr. Cross, nice to see you. Ophelia,
Morning.
Katie, Sergio. Just to let you know that this is being recorded and it's going to be shared on various platforms. So although we may not have a large group of folks here, we're grateful for the people that have made time to join us. And we will make sure that uh, this this gets out to the general public. So it's a very important conversation that we'll be having today. Just a couple more minutes, and then we'll be starting.
we're a few minutes in, Sal, so whenever you're ready, I'm good.
Why don't we begin in respect for the folks that were able to join us today? Good morning, everyone. My name is Sal Valadez. I'm a member of the Hispanic Leaders Group of St. Louis, former board member. And I'd like to thank you for this meet and greet, familiar faces, and new responsibilities. So we're celebrating the accomplishments and the future accomplishments of our friends who are out in the community and representing the Latino community, but working with everyone. The Hispanic Leaders Group collaborates with our Asian, African, and other ethnic communities. So this is not about just us, it's about all of us. So this is a very important conversation. And I'd like to thank our sponsors, the Hispanic Leaders Group of St. Louis and St. Louis Juntos. And I'd like to thank Gabriela Ramirez Arellano, who is our host today. Gabriela is the Director of Entrepreneurship at Cortex Innovation Community and Executive Director for the Center of Emerging Technologies. And I'd like to thank her for her accomplishments and her works and collaboration. Just a few notes, a few instructions before I pass it over to Gabriela. Please mute your mic. Introduce yourself in the chat room if you would. Any questions? I'll be monitoring the questions and in the Q&A. But Gabriela will be having a Q&A session at the end of the comments from our esteemed panelists. So with that, Gabriela Ramirez Arellano, would you please introduce yourself? Well, not introduce yourself, but proceed as we planned, okay?
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sal. Thank you. Buenos dias, everyone. Hello and welcome. My name, as Sal mentioned, is Gabriela Ramirez Arellano, and I am going to be your moderator this morning for the conversation as we meet and greet our community. I want to say again, thank you to the Hispanic Leaders Group and to STL Juntos for sponsoring today's conversation. And of course, thank all of you for taking time to join us this morning and to hear from our esteemed Latino leaders who are always willing to answer the call, and today's session is no different. Today's conversation is not only a celebration, but also an introduction. and a small representation of the many Hispanic leaders that are making a difference and taking the lead in our community and in the region. So hopefully this will be the first of many conversations throughout the year. And then, as we all know, in the past 18 months, our communities and communities of color have been disproportionately affected by everything going on. But they have also given us the energy to find opportunity amongst those challenges. Change is coming and continues to drive our region forward, powered by working together, as Sal mentioned, in collaboration. And the leadership that we see here this morning in these leaders and the many people in the region are all taking small steps that build up to impact that is meaningful and felt throughout the community. So in the next hour, we will hear from Alejandro Santiago, Esmeralda Aron, Antonio Maldonado, and Carlos Ramirez, who are all in newish positions in the last year. And they will share a little bit about themselves, their role in the organization, and talk about how they and their organization are supporting the Hispanic community while also learning about their leadership style. We want to have a real conversation with them, so they're also going to be sharing some of their personal perspectives on finding work life balance and then what's missing from the equation to better support our communities. The goal of today is not only to inspire you, but also to have you take action. So let's get started. Let's welcome Alejandro, Esmeralda, Antonio, and Carlos. And Alejandro, why don't we start with you, and then we'll go to Esmeralda, then we'll do Tony and Carlos. Share with us who you are, your organization, and your role within the organization. Alejandro?
Hola a todos. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alejandro Santiago. I currently work at the office of Congresswoman Cori Bush, specifically her district office. And with her office, I am the outreach representative. So just to touch briefly about my role and how I got here. I first moved to St. Louis around 3 years ago. And I started at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And I'm happy to see faces that helped me and empowered me to be in the role that I am in today. So being in the community, assisting and being part of a group that helps the Hispanic community and other communities here in the region, I was able to get a lot of important and relevant practice so that I could bring this into my current office with the Congresswoman. So I am really excited to be here to share about my story, my experience, and the work that we're doing in your district office to help the region.
Awesome. Thank you, Alejandro. Esmeralda?
Hola, buenos días. I'm Esmeralda Jaron, and I came to know about the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce through my work with the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in St. Louis University School of Medicine. But prior to coming to work with St. Louis University, I was actually in the Air Force. I served for 26 years. So I bring a different level of I want to say mindset because of my prior service. And I also, so I'm a veteran. And for those who don't know, Tony Maldonado is the veteran too, and Sal Valadez is the veteran too. So as you can see, we love to continue to serve even beyond our military service. So not only do I work in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, but I'm also serving as the operations co-chair of the Immigrant Service Providers Network, the ISPN. And now I have joined Estiel Juntos as their tactical flexibility leader. I'm the director at large for the Hispanic Leaders Group of Greater St. Louis. And I'm also the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisor to Women in Medicine and Science and the SLU Women's Commission. And of course, I'm a member of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm happy to be here and willing to share any of my prior experience with any of you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Tony?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Maldonado. I've been in the St. Louis area since 1983. I have been involved with the Hispanic community since about 1984. So I have been privy to a lot of the startups of Hispanic organization in the areas, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Leaders Group, which, by the way, were founded by the same person, Anthony B. Ramirez, which the Hispanic Leaders Group still holds in high esteem. It's been my pleasure to collaborate with all the organizations that have come up in our area to serve the needs of the Hispanic community, whether that be entrepreneurship, whether that be in mentoring and leadership, whether that be in pivoting to action items like we have in the last couple of years with the census and then with the pandemic. I have passion for my community. I don't have to know you to love you. And in terms of my veteran status, like we have a saying in Puerto Rico, I am a Puerto Rican soldier. My enlistment date has no termination. So always in service, here for the community. And thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel.
Thank you, Tony. And can you share a little bit about the role that that you were just appointed to?
Oh, as a consequence of a lot of the work that we have been doing, the Hispanic Leaders Group has an advocacy day every year at the Capitol, and we have open dialogues with state representatives, the state government, head of departments. The governor seemed fit to accept my nomination from Senator Angela Mosley to be the commissioner, the Human Rights Commissioner for Congressional District 1. And he announced that appointment at a meeting we had with Hispanic leaders at the Wainwright Building in early April. I was commissioned by the Senate April 20th, which, by the way, was my birthday. So what a birthday gift, right? So I'm new at the position. I still haven't had my first official meeting. That'll happen next month. But I am really looking forward to being part of the commission because it will deal with human rights. It will deal with the discrimination in housing, education, and other factors that are part of the Missouri Discrimination Act.
Thank you, Tony. Carlos, can you share a little bit about you, your organization, and your new role?
Sure. I'm Carlos Ramirez. Hello to everyone. I am a father of two and husband to my only wife, and I've been here in St. Louis for 11 years. I am currently the Vice President of Community Engagement and Business Development for Midwest Bank Center, and I've changed careers 4 times. And this is my current stop. I won't say it's my last stop because you never know. And happy to be here with all of you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carlos. And we'll start with you this time around because we know that the Latino community across the country has been impacted by a lot of factors in the last 2 years. Can you talk a little bit about what the issues that you and Midwest Bank Center are focused on in terms of the community here in St. Louis?
Yeah, the biggest issue that we're dealing with, of course, is from a financial perspective. And part of the reason that I was recruited over to Midwest Bank Center was because of my connections in the Hispanic community. And we are one of the few banks here locally that are intentionally trying to attract the Hispanic population and immigrants in general, because we have a couple of products that for those people that do not have Social Security numbers, they may have a international tax ID number, which allows them to be able to be banked by only a couple of banks. We are one of those banks. So we want to be able to take advantage of those people and help them in their journey to become better citizens and better contributing members to the society. And so I think by getting them banked and helping them to be more successful, not only personally, that helps the economy here, but also in the businesses they start. Our entrepreneurial statistics are off the charts as Hispanics. And so being able to educate our community on what it is, the advantages of being banked, of working with a bank, of using loans to be able to help you make your dreams possible. That's one of the missions, and I'm really moved by that mission and by our chairman and CEO, who's really put this into effect. So that's the biggest thing that we're really looking to do is bank the previously unbanked. And my emphasis, of course, is the Hispanic population. I have a counterpart in the African American community. We will have a counterpart in the Asian community. And so we are looking to really just bank the previously unbanked.
Awesome, Carlos. And I know that Midwest Bank Center has been very intentional about this for quite a while now, even with people with Social Security numbers, because you guys helped my husband's dream come true when you granted him a loan last year to buy the building that our restaurant is in. So thank you for that. Esmeralda, how about you? Can you share a little bit more about the issues that St. Louis University, your department, and that you are focused on in terms of the community here in St. Louis?
Absolutely. Well, my position actually developed because of the needs that we were having in St. Louis. I was hired during the pandemic. I started working late September of 2020. And at the time, of course, we were working remotely. However, I was able to connect with a lot of partners in St. Louis, a lot of nonprofits. And the role that I currently have is to be able to hire a diverse community of people. So my role kicked off again during the pandemic, and I am the liaison to our School of Medicine staff in the St. Louis community. I collaborate with hiring managers to attract and retain underrepresented minorities for the School of Medicine. We are developing and maintaining recruitment pipelines and retention programs for underrepresented minorities. And our focus is senior level staff and managers. We have connected and engaged the St. Louis University School of Medicine with the St. Louis community to help mitigate healthcare disparities. Early on, we knew that language access was a problem in our area. So we provided COVID-19 vaccine webinars in English, Spanish, and with interpretation to American Sign Language to dispel the myths and to save lives, as many lives as we could. And we hosted a couple of webinars specifically in Spanish. One of them was called Mi Familia y la Vacuna de COVID-19. ¿Qué es verdad? ¿Qué es el mito? ¿A quién debo creerle? We partnered with the Mexican consulate in Kansas City, Missouri, and invited doctors who spoke Spanish. Our very own priest, who also spoke Spanish, addressed the faith component because we know that a lot of Latinos, a lot of Hispanics adhere to their faith quite well every week, as far as we know. And we also invited an immigration expert because we knew that a lot of Latinos that were undocumented were concerned that if they were to go and get the vaccine, they would have to provide some of their information, and they were hesitant to doing that. So we wanted to make sure that people actually knew the right information, the right, when it came to the faith, when it came to the legal issues. We wanted them to all know the right information. And also, of course, we wanted for them to know the realities of the vaccine. So the webinar tackled all aspects of the Latino population to ensure they had the right information so they could make an informed decision. We currently are so super excited because just like 2 weeks ago, Congresswoman Cori Bush donated $500,000 to the School of Medicine for a mobile health clinic. So we are very, very grateful. And that will certainly help our underserved communities, not just our brown communities, but our Black communities as well. So very, super excited about that. So Alejandro, dale las gracias, Congresswoman Bush, for us. We're very, very excited for that.
Thank you, Esmeralda. I mean, the work is so important, right? And although we know that in St. Louis, the majority of the Latino population is professional and bilingual, we do have a large segment that does not have 100% language ability in English. And so language access continues to be a concern, especially in the last 2 years. We make up about 6%, Alejandro and Carlos, correct me if I'm wrong, of the population between the city and the county, but we saw infection rates in the county at 15%. So I'm really grateful that you all were able to address some of those concerns and really looking at it from various different levels. So thank you for that work. I mean, it's been really instrumental in the last 2 years. Tony, what about you? Can you share a little bit about, I know you're pretty new to the
Okay,
commission.
see you tomorrow. Okay, okay.
You
Have a good.
just got
Yeah,
voted
I will.
on.
Yeah, bye.
Um,
Have fun.
Juliet, if we could ask you to mute your phone, please. Thank you. And Tony, I know you just started at the commission, and can you share with us a little bit about maybe some of those things that you will focus on? What are the issues that are coming up at that level for the community?
Oh, sorry, I think you're muted.
One of the things that I am going to look at is to have a meeting with both the director for the Department of Labor, which is responsible for the budgeting of the commission, and with the local director, Dr. Warren, that is at the Wainwright Building downtown, that is the director of the commission. As a commissioner, I sit on a board that oversees the work that they do. So immediately, one of the things that I will be looking at is into the types of complaints that we're getting, the types of cases that we're getting from our community. And of course, I am a commissioner for the entire community, not just the Hispanic community. But of course, because I am familiar with our Hispanic community, I'm going to be looking at some of the applications and try to get some data on how many applications are coming through with Hispanic surnames or Hispanic businesses or Hispanic claims against maybe housing, education, schools, teachers, these kind of things. I'll be looking into that is first before I get to the first meeting so that I can have some questions and then get a feeling to how the commission is working. Right now, for my understanding, because of a few laws that have passed in the last couple of years, the commission has gone into a state of confusion. So I am going to see how I can help in getting that back on track with the intent of its original creation. So, you know, I really want to go full steam ahead, just like anybody that's new to a new job. You know, you want to go, you go gun ho, you want to do a good job for the people that you're representing. But I'm not armed with a lot of tools yet. But I do want to get into the housing, education, and sexual discriminations situation that is happening with our Hispanic community.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate you calling out the fact that because we are Latino, Hispanic, we kind of tend to focus on those communities, but we are aware that there are many communities that are having similar issues. And so when we
Many.
speak up for ours, we're also able to speak up for things that are happening elsewhere. So thank you for that.
Can I get a moment real quick to read something that I thought was very interesting? And again, this goes to organizational history, and it goes to history that we don't know, right? Although the history of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights places its creation, I'm reading, okay, creation in 1957, the Missouri Commission on Human Rights was preceded by the Negro Industrial Relations Commission, which was established under Governor Frederick D. Gardner on February 12, 1918. This has been in the works for a long, long time. And although we've had progress through the years, sometimes we lose the fact that a lot of this anti-discrimination acts and work has been done, and we're talking 1918, we're in 2022 now, and we still have issues. So, the work has, how would I say, has been going on for decades. And nobody has a magic wand to make things better for everybody. But if we don't have, and I keep saying this, and I say this to the senators when I met with them, if we don't have volunteers in our communities to help state institutions, state agencies, and our own community, these things don't get better. So, kudos to everybody here that's a volunteer for some other organization, even though you may be a paid employee for a Hispanic organization, but you also volunteer in other aspects in the community. And kudos to you. The work has to continue. It has to continue so it can get better. Thanks.
Thank you, Tony. What about you, Alejandro? Can you share about some of the things that you and the organization that you work for are focused on in terms of the community?
Yeah, so there are multiple issues that our office hears from on a day-to-day basis, from state issues, federal issues that we have to address and listen to. But one that I want to highlight is this engagement that the community has with government agencies, or specifically our office. As I go about in the community and listen and engage to people, the one question that I hear the most is, what does your office do? And I think that is a great question, because you know what you know, but that really shows that a lot of the community are not engaged with their elected representatives, their offices, and because of that, a lot of the things that are impacting or affecting the community most likely are not being listened by the people that got elected. So what I would say is, and I want to take some time to really share what our office can do for our constituents, specifically because we are part of Congress. Our office is able to introduce legislation for an issue or a concern that you have that is affecting you or somebody that you know, or a group of people, and really anything can be turned into federal legislation. And you may think that it's not an issue that is affecting others, but it is. And really be connected with your congressional office and call our phones, email us. We have a program that's called Congress in Your Neighborhood, and we go to different libraries across the county and the city to be there to listen to our constituents, to listen to any little thing that they have concerns about. We are able to assist. And we are part of the federal government, but because of the work that we do, we can connect with local resources. That is housing, that is resources for pay your utilities or rent assistance, or potentially introduce you to Esmeralda, who is doing great things in the health community, or Carlos, who is doing great things in the banking community, which we have been able to do. People come to us and say, I don't know how to buy a house, or I don't have a credit history because I just moved from another country, or I just got released from jail. All of these things, there are resources in the community that we can assist with. So be connected with your congressional office. I am a resource. So if you want to learn more about what our office can do for you, or in general, just you want to connect, or you want to share any issue that you have, I'm going to put my email, and we can also put that email on social media so that you're, I'm open and available to listen to you.
Gracias, Alejandro. I love that. It's also our responsibility too, right? To know what's available and to continue to ask for help, which is sometimes difficult for us. So let's talk a little bit about leadership. Did you guys always feel that you were a leader, or did you grow into that role? Carlos, can I start with you?
Sure. Looking back years into my quote unquote leadership role, I asked my mom if I was always a leader knowing in my head I didn't feel like one. And she says, no, you've always been a leader. You've always known what you want, what you're going to do, and you've always just done it. And it wasn't until my freshman year of college that I was pledging a fraternity, a Latino fraternity, and I was doing what I do, I guess. And the older members pulled me inside and they said, you're the leader of this class, and we expect you to be the leader of the class. And it wasn't until someone told me, you are the leader, you're the one that's going to lead, that I saw myself as a leader. And so I make it a point for forever, anytime I see somebody with that skill set, to not take it for granted that they know that they're a leader, but I make sure they know, and I tell them, literally say the words, you are a leader, because people may not know it. And maybe eventually I would have figured it out, but I mean, instead I ended up figuring out when I'm 19 years old, versus having to wait until my 20s or 30s. And so I think it's really important to hear that for people that are in the community, adults, leaders already, to tell you that you're a leader, that can make a huge impact. So no, I had no idea, I guess, ultimately, that I was a leader, but I'm glad someone told me.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos. What about you, Esmeralda? Have you always known you were a leader, or how did you grow into the role?
That is an excellent question. I don't know that I knew that I was a leader. I do remember that as when I was a child, I was the president of our little children's youth group and in church. And then as I grew up, it seemed like I was always leading folks. And then I joined the Air Force, and then I was leading troops. So was I born a leader? I don't know that I was born a leader, but it happened that I fell into those roles. I also wanted to teach. And so I see teachers as the greatest leaders ever, because they lead a group of 20 to 25 students each and every day, molding them. And I wanted to teach. So now in my current role, I do see myself as a leader because of the position that I currently have. And then I also know that empowered women empower women. So as a leader, my role now is to empower others, empower women, advocate for women, advocate for our Latino community, advocate for our brown and Black communities, advocate for women as a whole. And so I do see myself as a leader now. But like Carlos was saying, I think it took somebody else to tell me that I was a leader for me to know that. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how it happened in my case.
Thank you, Esmeralda. What about you, Tony?
I I think that, I'm sorry, I tried to mute a call that came in. Um, I think that my leadership comes from being the second oldest in a family of 9 with my own siblings. How I had to gather resources for us while being brought up in the city of New York. And then when I joined the service, I was pressed into leadership by being a rope, as they say. And Esmeralda, you know that in basic training and in tech school, we had ropes that puts you in a leadership. And of course, I didn't know anything about, I didn't go to West Point, so I didn't know anything about commanding troops or anything. I kind of learned on the job. And then when I got out into the community, my leadership, I was pressed into leadership mostly by seeing what needed to get done. And I have a strong sense of what I call the Kennedy syndrome, where I have a strong sense of servitude to the community, being raised in the East Coast, very familiar with a few families like that. So I kind of grew into leadership more than was a natural born leader. But I do have a different philosophy on leadership. I think leadership should be flexible. It should be more listening than commanding, and allow other people to get involved in the projects and chair committees that are part of the organization that you're leading. Every organization has committees, and just allow people to grow in those leadership roles also. So for me, I guess to make up for some of the not natural leadership skills is to allow other people to flourish and develop their leadership skill while still helping the main big picture of the project that's on hand. So that's kind of like the school of thought that I come from.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. What about you, Alejandro? Have you always felt like a leader, or how did you grow into this role?
Well, not at all, not at all. I think that it only happened as of a few years ago when I moved to St. Louis, and I think that what helped me a lot was one, the visibility that I had at the office, specifically working at the chamber, seeing people that looked like me, that talked like me, that had the same experiences as me, thriving and doing well. That really empowered me to believe that I could also do the same things. At the same time, I think that it was also a mental challenge that I had, mental barriers that I put myself. I think at the beginning, I saw things of my person as liabilities, like being gay, like being an immigrant, like having an accent. I thought those as being liabilities when I moved to Missouri, and I quickly learned. And it took, well, not quickly, it took me some time to really realize that those things were not liabilities, but were my assets. And once I was able to put that into empowerment, into believing that those things are what makes me absolutely phenomenal, I was like, you know what, I can really do it all. Like, there's nobody that can tell me you cannot do this, or there's nobody that can tell me you're not great enough, you are not valuable enough. All those things, like, you can tell me those things, but I don't take those as truth, because I know who I am. I know my truth. And once I was able to do that, I became so comfortable with myself, so happy with myself, that I just walk into any room being who I am, and just, being empowered, and just being able to do the work that I do, and be confident and comfortable. And I feel like that is what it really helped me into seeing myself as a leader. But it didn't come alone. It came with help. It came with people that are here in this room that really helped me seeing that, and also others, which I think that visibility is really important. So that's a little bit of like my journey to get there, to get here.
Yes, bring your greatness, Alejandro. And speaking of that, so what do you all consider your superpower, and how are you using it today in your role? Esmeralda, can we start with you?
Absolutely. Um, well, I believe my superpower is the ability to listen to people without judgment. I am the family, the friend, the colleague that others come to when they want to vent, and they know that I will listen. And if action is needed, they trust that I will take such action to support them. So in my case, I believe that my superpower is ability to listen.
Thank you. What about you, Carlos? What would you say your superpower is, and how are you using it in your role today?
You know, I don't know if this is still something internal, and sometimes I struggle with having imposter syndrome or whatever. So for me to even admit that or even feel comfortable answering this question as if I have a superpower makes me feel a little uncomfortable. But if I had to say what has allowed me to be successful is my diversity and experiences, that I truly believe I can have a conversation and connect with any type of person on any level, any race, any education level, and just being able to ask the right questions. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with somebody where I literally only asked questions. I said very little, and people walk away saying like, "Wow, what a great conversation! It was really nice meeting you." and I said almost nothing, but I understand that sometimes people want to be heard, people want to talk about themselves, and I'm not that comfortable with it. So I really am able to ask the right questions, and ideally always with the intent of, if I can help them sort something out in their head as they're talking out loud and asking follow-up questions, that's what I've enjoyed. And I think that, given my, I have a higher education background experience in student development theory, and I think wanting to empower people to get to the next level is something that I've appreciated doing, but that comes from being able to have a conversation and relate to any type of person on some level.
And I definitely think you hit the nail on the head with your relatability, Carlos, because you can talk to anybody about anything, and that makes you an amazing resource. Because anytime we need something and we come to you, you always have a person to send us to. So that is definitely one of your superpowers. Alejandro, what about you?
I think that I see a trend, specifically with our roles that are in engagement, in talking to people. And I think that for me, it is being empathetic. Something that has led me to be in the roles that I've been. It usually is with being connected with people of different backgrounds that need assistance. And I think that when you are doing this work, you need to be aware that other people have different experiences, and you have to respect those, and you have to sometimes put yourself in their shoes to really understand and to be able to help and assist. So I think that one of those powers is being empathetic.
Thank you. What about you, Tony? Can you share your superpower with us and how you use it in your role?
I think everybody said a little bit of what I would have said had I gone first. Being empathetic, being able to listen to people, being able to have conversation with people from all walks of life, from all races, from all ethnicities, from all beliefs. I always say that lately I've been saying my superpower is being an old man, right? Because you gain a lot of experience from your years that you have gone by, and the people you have met. And it's important to value your sense of how things occur to other people, right? How does it occur to other people? When they ask you the question, HOG, what do you guys do? What is it really that you do? But if you read our mission, you will see more or less things that we do. We are not a direct service agency, but we do things. So we see how things occur to our community in terms of, let's say, advocacy, right? We're a strong supportive voice for our community, but we're not out on a platform yelling with a megaphone to our community, but we are out talking with the representatives of our city, county, and state, and voicing those issues that we heard during our general membership meetings or during meetings in business after hours at the chamber, or meetings or activities happening at the History Museum and things like that. So I guess my real superpower is the experience that I've gathered from everybody in our community, and being able to share that, being able to listen, being able to be empathetic.
Thank you, Tony. And then this next question is from our audience. So I'm going to ask you guys, but feel free to unmute yourself if you want to respond. Not everybody has to. Engaging the Latino community at the grassroots level can be very challenging. Can you share thoughts, concerns, or maybe how you've addressed this? And I'll start with Carlos.
I think for me, it's you oftentimes want to find, first of all, start one person at a time, and I think our community is very trusting, sometimes to a fault, but we're trusting. And when you get good results, we tell other people, hey, I went to the Hispanic Chamber, they really helped me out. So, but then also partner with key people. Like if someone has a lot of influence in community, then you start with them, because they can spread the word quickly. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you talk to 10 people and don't bring results to any of them, you lose all credibility. So you have to make sure that more than anything, you have to bring results. And I think that's one of the things that we really worked on is not to overpromise. You know, there's been times where people wanted to join the Hispanic Chamber, and I said, hey, you know what, based on what you want, I'm not sure we're the right organization for you. I think you should go check out X organization, you know, because, you know, yeah, we could get their money for 1 year, but at the end of the day, they may have a bad taste in their mouth because they feel like they had a bad experience, didn't get what they needed. Whereas me being able to just tell them, lead them in the right direction, that leaves a good taste in their mouth, and they may direct other people to us. So I think at the end of the day is make sure you're bringing results, and you definitely do want to make sure you're finding key people in the community that have an impact on several people and start working with them as well. Because at the end of the day, I think our community is definitely word of mouth community. And so I think it's really important to make sure that you're making sure you're following through.
Definitely. Anyone else want? I kind of put Carlos on the spot. Anybody else want to answer?
I'll go ahead. So I think that one other thing to consider is that when we're doing outreach, it has to be intentional. That when we're sharing the resources that we have, when people are actually pursuing those resources, they can access them. A lot of times, we share that. For example, hey, come over. We have all of these resources, and then people come over, and then they're asking, "Hola, ¿qué es lo que tienen?" And then we're like, "Well, I don't really speak Spanish. I'm not sure. How can I help you?" Those things are really important to be aware of as we're doing outreach in the community, and be aware that all of the resources that we have should be, intentionally targeted to those communities, because sometimes they may be cultural differences in the language or in the way processes work and stuff. So having staff also that are representing of those communities is going to be really important. And in attending community events, being connected with the community in multiple levels, that can be social media. You have to be present. At this point in time, social media, specifically for the Hispanic community, is very huge. That is, Facebook is the biggest outlet for news consumption. So being present on Facebook and being there is really important. And then also, whatever resource that you're sharing, make it easy to digest. It's hard if you're gonna be sharing, I don't know, something about a cancer resource, and then you're putting the definition, the clinical definition of cancer in it's a paragraph in a flyer. That's gonna deter attention, and people are gonna be like, I don't know, this is too much. You have like 3 seconds to get the attention of people, and you have to make it engaging in a way so that people pay attention to the resources that you have. So it takes time, it takes effort, but if you're doing it intentionally, you will get the results.
Thank you, Alejandro. I kind of saw your head nod, Esmeralda. Did you want to respond too?
Well, sure. Intentionality is critical to anything that we do. And for any organization that is trying to reach the underserved communities, it is critical that we walk with them to really get to know them. You build credibility and you build trust when you are among the people that you're trying to serve. So when I started working at St. Louis University in the School of Medicine, I literally started going to Cherokee Street, and I started asking people, where if you needed medical services, where would you go? And people would mention Casa de Salud, Afinia Healthcare, and so I started telling them, did you know that St. Louis University, we have a health resource center that is absolutely free, that provides all these services? And people did not know. So you have to go where the people are. And also it helps that I know the language. So yo puedo hablar con ellos en inglés o puedo hablar con ellos en español. And in 26 years of military service, I did not use Spanish ever. But in the last year and a half, I have used the language exponentially. So it has come in handy. If you are a leader who wants to get to know the Latino community, take a Spanish class, Spanish 101. Watch some videos on YouTube. Learn the language, because the language will connect you to the people. Learn the culture. The culture will connect you to the people. And of course, our food is delicious. So go to the places where people are enjoying and celebrating. Get to know the culture, get to know the people, and they will embrace you, because that's who we are. We embrace all people. Thank you.
Thank you, Esmeralda. I definitely agree with you. I think that it is challenging at the grassroots level to engage the Latino community, but that the organizations in the region really need to be intentional about understanding who we are. We're not a monolithic ethnicity, right? There are at least 23 countries that speak Spanish. And Spanish for somebody in Colombia could be very different than someone in Mexico or in Argentina. So those types of things are really important. Sal also mentioned in the chat the difference between the word Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, and other ways that people identify. So I think that a lot of those are precursors to really engaging in the community. As I mentioned in the beginning, the majority of the Latino community in St. Louis is professional. So the assumption is that they're bilingual. So you have to be really clear about what is the community that you're trying to engage when you do the grassroots outreach. If you're trying to engage with maybe newer immigrants or people in certain neighborhoods or whatnot, then not only is the culture going to be important, but so is the language. And we saw that during the pandemic, right? Where, I mean, the county even had STL Juntos come out and do the press conference in Spanish because the infection rate was so big, and they didn't understand why they weren't getting through, but they hadn't done anything in Spanish yet. So really just be intentional. And again, I think someone mentioned it earlier, reach out to the people already doing the work. Do a touch base with the Hispanic Leaders Group, with the Hispanic Chamber, with Casa de Salud, and other organizations that are already working in those communities to learn and understand not only what the needs are, but how to best address them. And I know we're running up on time, so I want to, at this time, thank our guests so much, and then open it up to our participants that are here with us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. I have a few other things that I wanted to go over with our guests, but I do want to allow time for you to ask any questions that you may have. So anybody have anything that they'd like to unmute themselves and ask our guests? I know Carlos, Alejandro, Esmeralda, and Tony would be more than happy to answer any thoughts that you have.
Yes, I have a question. Good morning to you all. My name is Leonor, and I also served in the Air Force. Just a little bit of a background. Met this group through Alda. I know we had a scheduled time to meet, but I had an emergency come up. But it's so nice to finally get to hear your voice. I love following everything that you're doing for the community. And as I was in the service, the same, I haven't been able to speak the language. I feel like I even lost my touch with my roots because I was away from my family for so long. So I'm super excited. I'm transitioning now out of the Air Force. I'm just trying to find a way to give back to the community. Just be in touch, all the how should I say this? Where the community where my parents were immigrants, we use food stamps to get through. So I definitely can empathize with a lot of that portion of the communities. So I would love to be a part of that. Who's new, who hasn't volunteered? Where do I even get started?
Oh, I can start. One great resource, incredible resource that we have here in the region is the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. That is a great organization that can connect you with different other organizations. And I think that what you want to do first is to, as you're looking into what the next step of your career is or what you want to do with your time, is to look at what is a passion for you. Is that health related? Is that food access related? Is that helping immigrants or is it helping veterans? Taking a look at what those passions are and then and then connect with the chamber or connect with any of us that can connect you with those organizations that are helping those communities, and then find ways that you can volunteer and put your time into that. If that is not necessarily clear at the moment, you can start with volunteering any of the organizations that all of us are part of, or other organizations as a volunteer, and then maybe that can spark other ideas for you as you're navigating that. And it's not only volunteering, a lot of the skills that you have are important right now for different industries and organizations, that if you're looking for a paid position, that is also something that you can tap into at the chamber, or just personally with us. We can help you connect with people.
Yeah, and I know Gabriela put the website for the Hispanic Chamber in the chat, but I think another good opportunity is for you to go to the monthly networking socials the Hispanic Chamber has. They're the third Thursday of every month. They're from 6 to 8 o'clock. The location changes, but they're always the third Thursday of the month from 6 to 8 o'clock. So you can check that out. And the next one is next Thursday, I think. Well, the third Thursday.
Tomorrow.
Oh, is it tomorrow? Oh, shoot. Yeah, tomorrow. And so it's always the third Thursday. And so you could check out the calendar, RSVP. There's no charge for you to attend, but there you'll be able to meet a ton of people from all industries to really learn about what's available, what are other people doing. And if you want to, and I'll share this with everybody, if you only want to speak Spanish while you're there, you'll be perfectly fine. If you don't speak a lick of Spanish, you will be perfectly fine. So, you don't have to worry about any situation. Everybody is welcome. It's a diverse crowd. So you should definitely plan on attending. I am fairly certain I'm going to be there. Yes, I will be there. So I'd love to meet you there, Leonor. Bye.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch, where is this?
The location changes. So go to their website, and Gabriela put it in the chat for their website. And you'll be able to see the location. But each month it changes, but they're always the third Thursday from 6 to 8 o'clock.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, we're at 4 minutes out, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out for today. I know Carlos has a commitment and I have something as well. Thank you so much again, everyone, for joining us today. I am so grateful that you were able to be a part of our conversation, but also to meet the representatives from the Latino community here in St. Louis that are doing great things and continue to do great things to make sure that the region is a better place for us all. Again, thank you to the Hispanic Leaders Group and to STL Juntos for this conversation. If you have not already, feel free to put your email address in the chat or reach out to our guest on LinkedIn. I know that they're always willing to help, support, and point you in the right direction, because although St. Louis is a small, big city, it can be big and scary. And I know for me, I was very lucky to live in the bubble of the Hispanic Chamber for many years. And so automatically I got introduced to all the people, Lenore. So I always knew where the party was. I always knew where the meeting was, because the chamber really did a great job of connecting people on I think a lot of times we think, well, I don't have a business, so I don't need the chamber. But the chamber provides so much more than that. They really provide a sense of community. And for me, it's been a tribe that even though I'm no longer there, and I know Alejandro and Carlos are no longer there either, but we still go to the meetings and we still interact and engage because we understand how important and detrimental they are, not only for the region as a whole, but for us personally. So thank you everyone for joining us again today. Really excited to have you, and looking forward to future conversations so that we can continue to have this dialogue.
Thank you, Gabriela.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Gabriela.
you.
Thank
Nice to
Bye.
meet you.
you. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.